right, beautiful humans of MTOPS. What a week it's been. Let's climb into this next turning point so everyone is on the same page. Now, the first thing I want everyone to do is please check that your cycle has started at 00 on the 8th of Feb. I may have made the mistake and put the cycle line around about here, the 8th of Feb, towards the end of it, which was incorrect, and thanks to the guys who picked that up. You definitely have the eyes of an eagle, and I'm deeply appreciative for it. So let's get into today's trade, right? And to the market structure in its entirety. So before we do so, as always, we go to our MTOPS format, and let's do this one by one. MTOPS. All right, so everyone is familiar with this by now, right? We've got a lower low that formed, and then a lower high. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. The reason why we turn to the higher cycles is because of these crazy things that can happen. If you go to the 512 for the guys who are already there, you will see that the price action has moved very well along this 1/2 line on the Gantt square. It found resistance there, it came down to this line, which is the third level, and then it sprouted up along that line over there. Okay, so everything is in line, but what we found now is that we're at the 5th arc of where this is. Now that's great for some reasons, but it's also potentially a turning point, as on the 512, there will need to be some downward movement for the next point to form to build the next high. Okay, so does that make sense? If not, you'll get it. Don't put too much pressure on yourselves. We're here to learn. On the 7-day, which is the major cycle, we've seen it come up over the 1/4. So that just simply says, also 1/8. It's a 1/8 because that's how extreme these bull runs are at the moment. So it's come up here. It superseded this arc, and I think we're overdue for a little bit of retracement. Now, whether it goes down to there or across to there is the question. We'll have to check with the 512 at a later point, but I just want to show you from a trend perspective, everything is in line, and this has been something we've been talking about in the videos for a very long time. Now, if I just go to my day tool, oh guys, this Mercury retrograde is hilarious. We saw from about here, which was 9 days ago, that it will continue up this line. And we've been reporting on that, and it's been in market updates, so it's been very, very accurate. Now, the reason we knew this was going to happen is because we had a higher low, and for it to remain in an uptrend, it had to break the recent high. Once again, if it doesn't make sense up front, it's okay, we're here to learn, but this is what's been happening. So 9 days ahead of time, we forecasted this to happen, right? Into today's setup, which has been a little bit all over the show, we are going to build this out together. So from a market perspective, we were in a temporary downtrend, if you want to call it that. But because of the higher time frames, we knew that it had to break out at some point, which is also part and parcel why I put out yesterday's signal, even though my time frames weren't exactly correct. Okay, so from a market perspective, we had a trend directional change, and it happened in line with how things go. Now, for the more advanced students, you'll notice that 5 will always peak towards the middle of the week, so there'll always be an up towards Wednesday, Thursday, and generally when a 9-10-1 happens, there will be some major market move either on the downside or the upside. So today we witnessed that on the upside. Okay, so let's draw this out. So from a time perspective, we're going to go from 7 to 9, use our measuring tape to measure that distance, and then as you already know, we duplicate that and we build it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a line for us to move along. Just to get that nice, tidy line up. And then I'm going to move our measuring tape alongside time. And you'll see that it works at 150% absolutely perfectly. Hello, boy. And once again, the sine wave didn't help out too much here, but 150% time was pretty darn accurate. So 150% is what we put there, of course. The oscillator is now switching, which means that this is going to come down. So of course, if we're going to put something in there, it'll be overbought, and this is confirming take profit 1 or turning point 1. There's so many TPs, toilet paper. All right, cool. So from a price perspective, we're going to go and do our usual measure between the previous upswing to forecast the next upswing. I'm going to put that in line with our time projection. That's good. And because it's an extreme market move, which isn't something we do often, I'm going to double this up and then stack it on top of one another. You'll see there, it's a very clean turnaround at the 3.5 for price. This over here is a short market move, and then there was an extreme market move. So under those conditions, and this is where your experience hours kick in, you'll be able to stack it up, and then you'll see the beautiful confluence of 3.5 on price. Okay, so from a support and resistance perspective, as you already know, we use the Gantt square as our overlay. We just measure that up. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking at the ratio of the size of this Gantt square by just simply making it make sense with the price projection tool and just lining that up. This time I use the first level of the Gantt square, this level over here, to line up with the 1 on the price projection tool. So the length of that was used to put the price projection tool down, and then this level lined up with that level to give us our support and resistance shape. And if I neaten it up, which can take a little bit of adjustment, you'll see that it came through past the kill zone into the first arc and basically came up this row over there to stop at the 4th level and also to turn around at this 4th arc. So everything is 100% relevant and in play according to the MTOPS criterion. I'll have to build up the support and resistance, so I'm going to put the resistance into arc 4. So just to add some more lines, which I never like to do unnecessarily, I'm going to go across, take the 1/8 away, put the 1/4 in, and you can see right there that it went up directly to the tip of that 1/4. Okay, so let me just re-emphasize that. Watch what happens here when I move the 1/4. That's gone, that comes back, and there it is. So MTOPS doesn't let us down. It's just up to us to understand the story of the market and anticipate it ahead of time. Again, you can see the price coming down. This turning point is now over, so we're calculating for 2. And to reiterate what I said earlier, we saw this happening because this high had to form above that high because of this lower low. It came up along this line as projected 9 days in advance, and we knew this was going to happen because on the major cycle, it was going up this line over here. Once again, weeks in advance, because of this higher low, let me just re-emphasize, because the higher low, it had to choose a lane, and it shows the 1/8 on the cycle. So guys, I hope that still feels good and you're feeling positive about everything, because this has been very accurately drawn out, despite the human error, which is obviously something that we are guilty for as trading and technology and Mercury retrograde, a whole bunch of other things lines us up for failure. So that's what that looks like. Now let's set up for the next turning point, right? So I'm going to put here a confirmation of this turning point into the group. There it is. And with your experience hours, you'll get to see everything I see. So if you feel overwhelmed and you didn't think to add the additional GAN lines in, that's okay. Experience hours will get you there. So let's just try and get our chat open. All right, cool. Okay, so let's together calculate our next turning point. So we take away all the calculations for turning point 1. All right, so now we have turning point 1 set up. I'm sure you can pretty much see exactly what I'm doing and follow along with it. It's around about this time I'm going to move this up towards 1 just to see whether or not we should put it in confluence. And guys, if you're using the sound wave and don't understand it, forget about the sound wave for now. We'll get around to it at a later part of the course. So don't let the second confirmation of time or any other tool bombard you. We got to go at the slow and steady so that you're getting each part of this correctly done. So this is where I kind of made a mistake last time. I just very quickly got into my cycle lines, but let's do it again. So if you look at the 8th of February, we're going to add 7 to that. So it'll take us to the 15th of February, and it'll be at the start of the 15th of February. Blano, get it right this time, bud. Cool. Onto the cycle lines. Let's get our quadrant going. Go all the way, pull it back so you get 4. That's nice and neat, looking good. And from here we calculate 2. So once again, we don't shortcut the process. We put our projection up here. Now let's just put it down there. And again, forecasting for 2. M equals, O equals, oh, T equals, O equals, P, S. So right now, I'm unsure about market structure, but we've got a lower low and a higher high. So I'm not sure. I'm just going to put a question mark to trend. Just to reiterate why there's a question mark there is because on the 512, I'm not entirely sure if this is a turning point that's now formed, and I want to see whether or not that happens. From a time perspective, it's not really easy to measure short distances. So from let's go 8 to 10, I mean, I almost don't want to even waste our time here, but for the purpose of process, let's do it anyway. So I'm going to copy and paste that or clone it, depending on how you like to do things. All right, great. So you can already tell that you're 200%, 300%, 400%. We don't see it going further than 400%. So it'll probably turn somewhere within this region. Now, with that said, I don't see price dropping below 10. That would be ludicrous. So I want to say we're in an uptrend until further notice. Can you see how they work together, guys? That tells a story. So you got to keep your ear open to the story. So from time perspective, we got here 400%. From oscillator perspective, we got a transitioning between overbought to oversold. From a price perspective, let's measure that in. I'm going to line it up with our time projection. Okay. And then as we can have any point really, at the 2.5, the 2, the 1.5, 1, 1.5, that's where our beautiful, gorgeous, caring, loving, nurturing, super special Gantt square comes in. So before I get on to that, what I'm looking for here is what happens on this 0.5 line. And I'll move that around for it to make sense. And this price action will give me what makes sense along there. So let's do that together. Naught. So here's my first option. I think that's too tight personally. Okay, just to re-emphasize what's happening, that's 0.5, and I'm lined up at the level 2 on the Gantt square. Okay, it looks too tight to me. So I'm going to pull this down so that the first level now syncs up with the 0.5, and that looks a bit more tidy. Can you see how the first arc has sent this up to the 1/2 line? It's brought it back down to the second arc, and we're having this travel down here over the 1/4 line. Guys, experience hours will get your eye in with this, so don't be overwhelmed. Stick to the course, keep practicing. Okay, so what we're seeing here, personally, for me, is we could have a turn along the 300% now that the Gantt square is up, and it could come to around about there. Or it can come down this line over here and meet us over there to form 0.2, which will build 0.3. So again, this could come down to somewhere around here. Let's just call it for now. Bring that across. Oopsie. Mark that down. Bring this time across. That's one option. That's if the price decides just to kind of drop down. Or an alternate option would be for price to go there. Okay, do you guys see that? Yes, you do, because you're super intelligent and you've got this. Okay, so 1.5 goes into our price projection. And support and resistance, let's say for example, it does come to over here. We'll have it form on the support line, which will be 1/4 or the 1/2, and the resistance will be, I'd say arc 3. Now, many of you would want to climb into the short, and under our current circumstances, and depending where you are on your journey, that's not a good idea, because we're all learning how to operate the 32 minutes or the 30 minutes first and foremost. Now, there are guys who are now afraid with this, and they're trading on the 8-minute, which is the one cycle below. So they'll see here that there will be a short until this point, and they can get in and short this, but they'll have to sit at their laptops and make sure that they catch the right highs and the right lows until it gets to this point. So we are able to trade this, but certainly not on this time frame. It will have to be on a day trade, and we're teaching that in the MTOPS Unlimited group. So just so you guys know, there is the MTOPS Academy, where a lot of you guys are learning the MTOPS fundamentals, and then there's also the MTOPS Unlimited, where guys are taking this into the next realm and using the 8-minute. All right, so I hope that makes sense of what's going on. Once again, it brought us to understanding what's happening here, and that is directly in confluence with all of these metrics. And now we're going to move on to our projection for the next turning point, the next low. And that is how it's done.